Hello, Christina, and thank you so much for joining us today on the Romanian television, the regional studio of Timișoara.
Hello, Diana. I'm pleased to be here.
I told you before that it would have been nicer maybe to meet you on Via Transilvanica, somewhere there on the path, but it's great that we are meeting here. I know that you're a very busy person because you are, let's say, a professional traveler. You travel almost all the time of the year, and when you don't travel, you talk about your experiences and you write about them. And today our subject is definitely Via Transilvanica, because this year Via Transilvanica was one of your, let's say, major experiences, and I'm very much looking forward to finding out about it. First of all, let's start with the beginning. How did you get in touch with this idea of traveling on Via Transilvanica? How did you get informed about this route in Romania?
Well, it was pure coincidence, and it was due to my insomnia, to my sleeplessness. What happened is, as a professional hiker, I wouldn't say I'm a professional traveler, but I'm a professional hiker. And so I follow all sorts of, like, trail organizations, hikers on social media. So when I came across Via Transilvanica, I was immediately like, wow, what a name. Just for the name, Via Transilvanica sounds so sexy. I mean, like, wow, with Transilvanica, you have everything from Dracula, vampires, forests, God knows what. So I was immediately impressed. So just for the name, I have to do this. So one night I couldn't sleep, and I decided, okay, instead of like tossing around my bed, I said, okay, let's check out different trails. And, there's a lot of hiking trails springing up, especially in Eastern Europe. And I didn't expect much. I thought, okay, Via Transilvanica is like all the other trails, just the brainchild of someone, but there's probably not much behind it on the ground. So I went to the website, and immediately I saw, hey, there's a guidebook. And hey, the guidebook is not only in Romanian, it's in English and German. And I was like, wow. And I downloaded the PDF, and I said, wow, this is like several hundred pages. And then I started reading it, and it was so perfect. It has everything like accommodation, description of the trail, pictures, maps. I saw like, bloody hell, this is so perfect. Like this trail really exists. And immediately it was like 3 a.m. in the morning. I decided, okay, I have to do this. This is so perfect. I have to do this. So and then of course Corona came up again. Like I had different plans for this year. And when I realized, okay, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do a through hike as I usually do of Europe, I said, okay, this is my chance to hop to another country, like to hop to Romania and do Via Transilvanica at the end of the season.
So, there are the positive aspects of Corona pandemic, because otherwise maybe you wouldn't have get
exactly.
Great that you're here. Actually, you've stolen my next question, because my next question was supposed to be which were your expectations about Via Transilvanica, but you've already told me. But now I'm curious to find out what was your first thought when you arrived in Romania and you started walking on Via Transilvanica?
Okay, I have to say I've hiked here before. I've hiked 4 years ago. I hiked also across Romania on European long distance trail E3. So I've been to Romania, and back then my experience was a bit mixed because the E3 is not a developed trail. Actually, I was again like the first person to hike it. Sometimes I was like one day behind the guy who was painting the blazes on the trees. And the paint was still fresh, and I was hiking there. So I had problems, and back then I realized this is a country of extremes. And I was a bit worried, like what will this be like? But I realized this time it will be different, because there's this fantastic guidebook. So there's the infrastructure. The infrastructure was lacking on the E3. So again, I'm a big fan of Eastern European countries. I go where I can still discover things that are still new. So I knew this can't be a complete disaster, because the guidebook was too good. But my expectations were relatively low, I have to say.
You said about the guide, and I'm very glad that you mentioned the guide, because everybody is talking about the guide, and I know there's a lot of information about the route, about the things that you can do and see, and accommodation, and the things that you can eat. on the route. Did the guide fulfill your expectation? Was it as you expected it to be when you got in, I don't know, Bukovina or Transylvania or Banat and so on?
Actually, it was actually better than I expected. The guidebook is it's one of the biggest assets of Via Transilvanica, and considering that this is like it's just like I personally met the investigation team, the ladies who actually researched and wrote the guidebook, and they have no background in trail building or in writing, and still the guidebook is impeccable. It's really, again, like any guidebook, first edition of a new trail will have some mistakes or whatever. But
and it's very friendly, I have to say. It's really friendly, the guide.
Exactly, but actually there were hardly any mistakes. The description was great, and the most essential information was for me was like accommodation, water sources, and this was all really accurate and great. So the guidebook is really a big asset because the layout is professional, the information is accurate. So actually you don't need much else except the guidebook. Everything you need is in the guidebook.
Mm-hmm. And now we'll get to the next step, because now I'm really curious to find out about the real experience there on the path, in the field. How long did it take? I remember that you started at the end of the summer, right?
Exactly.
And how long did it take, and how was it really there, being there alone? We have to say that you've been walking alone, right?
So first thing, the first word I learned in Romanian was, believe it or not, singura. Because everybody, the first question was, are you alone? Singura. The second word I learned in Romanian was ursu.
Okay, yes.
So this tells you a lot about the experience. So how long did it take me? It took me, as I had calculated, nearly 2 months, 1,400 kilometers, which is normal for me. I usually hike in Europe between 750 to 900 kilometers per month. I hike a lot more per month in, for example, in the US or in Australia. The difference is in Europe, there's so much to see. There's so much sightseeing to do. And this is especially true for Via Transilvanica. So I had calculated 2 months and I finished in almost 2 months, a little bit less so as calculated. So how was it on the trail? Like, it was very interesting right from the beginning, because see, I've hiked in bear country before. I've hiked across the US 3 times. 3 times Mexico to Canada. So I thought I know everything about bears. This is exaggerated, so bears are no problem. I didn't really take it seriously. It is described in the guidebook, but I said, hell no, this is, well, there won't be any bears, you won't see them. And right from the start, every day I saw bear scat, I saw bear prints. The first other hikers I met, they had this huge, these sort of trumpets you use for football games, like where the fans are blowing, they make a lot of noise. And these were actually 2 policemen, and they were still hiking with this instrument to make noise, to inform the bears. Hey, there's humans coming. Because we are afraid. We don't want to meet any bears. And I was like, hey, these are like, police officers. They shouldn't be afraid of their lives, and they are so scared of the bears. And I was like, oh, no problem, bears. I'm not worried. So I was getting a bit like, maybe I should take this more seriously. And I remember, like on day 3 or 4, I came across like one of these meadows with shepherds. Shepherds very friendly. They offered milk and cheese and God knows what. And then they told us, hey, just 2 nights ago, a bear killed 2 of our calves. And this is when I decided, okay, maybe I'm better not camping in this area. I better stay in paid accommodation. So this is when I changed my strategy. And luckily I did, because actually the most interesting experiences I had were connected with accommodations. Because to meet the people, to meet the landladies or the landlords, to meet the people, this was actually the most exciting, one of the most exciting things about Via Transilvanica, which I would have missed if I had stayed in my tent as I usually do.
Exactly. All the people that who travel on Via Transilvanica say the same thing, that maybe this is the greatest, the nicest experience, to meet people, to talk to them, to share experience with them. And on the other hand, there are so many experiences that you can get from the north to the southern part of Romania, because Romania is so different, you know, in different areas. And I would ask you to maybe to make a comparison, because you did the whole path, the whole trail, and maybe you can make comparisons between the different areas that you walked on.
Okay. First of all, let me start with this. I'm from Germany, and in Germany you have basically no idea of what Romania is like, or a very negative idea of what Romania is like. So I have to say I'm very active on social media. So I post every day on Facebook, and I post continuously on Instagram. So when I announced to my followers I'm going to Romania, everybody was like, what? What are you doing there? And like everyone was like, Romania? So nobody had any idea. And the most common comment I got back from my followers when I posted it, I said I post every day, and I post 7 pictures every day on Instagram. Everybody's like, we had no clue how beautiful it is. We had no clue how interesting it is. This is Romania? Like, we didn't know. Why didn't we know? So, and even me, having been to Romania before, I was really overwhelmed by the variety of like the landscape and the culture. And it starts like, again, I give you both my feedback, the feedback of my followers. So you started Bukovina, and I posted pictures of the painted monasteries. And then like people asked me on social media, is this Benedictines or Franciscans? And I said, no, this is Romanian Orthodox. Oh, they are Orthodox in Romania. We didn't know. And even I knew because I've been there before, but still this is like, for me, a totally new culture, like the Orthodox churches. So, and again, like going to the church, in Germany, if you go to a monastery, there's no, all the monks or the nuns are like 80 plus. So because they don't have young people come entering the monastery. So all of a sudden I see young monks, I see young nuns, and I see very active church life. So this was very, very interesting for me. And especially like the painted monasteries. I mean, you know, it's UNESCO World Heritage. I was like, wow. And there's not only one monastery, but there's like several. And the Via Transilvanica passes all of them. So this was like fantastic. Okay. And then you continue further. And once I digested this, I come to the country of the Hungarian minority. So again, I post pictures and I talk about the food, about Balinka and about God knows what. And all my followers are like, I thought you're in Romania. Why are you talking about Hungarian villages? What have you changed the country? I said, no. This is a big Hungarian minority. And I said, big Hungarians in Romania? We did not know. I did not know either. So all of a sudden, I was in a completely different environment, different culture. And luckily, I've hiked all across Hungary as well. So I know some Hungarian words. And I felt like, hey, I'm a different country. So again, one country, different cultures. This continued next section, which was like the Saxons, the German-speaking minority. And again, like the churches were so different, you know, the 45 churches, to see inscriptions in like, you know, monuments or way crosses or whatever. You had like all the cemeteries, you had German inscriptions, German names. And again, I didn't know anything about their culture. So again, I stayed in hotel and in accommodation there, and I stayed with people who still speak German, and they told me about the history of the minority there, and I was like, wow, again, I did not know. And again, when I posted this, my followers were like, oh, we didn't know the history, like where did they come from, and is there a German history? I'd say, no, this is just German speaking, not German. And again, really eye-opening for me. And then it became really, really interesting, because then I was entering the sections Alba Giulia and Hunedoara, where there is no trail marking yet. So I was the first, I had the GPX track, but there was no milestones or nothing. So this was like, and I had no clue. And I remember I arrived in Alba Giulia, in the city of Alba Giulia, and I was like, wow, this is you know, the old town and the fortifications and the two churches, the big Orthodox church and the big cathedral next to it. And I was like, wow, this is so beautiful. Why does nobody know about this place? Alba Giulia is one of the most beautiful places on the trail, I think. So again, I hadn't any expectations because the landscape again changed. Before, for example, in Bukovina, I had hiked through forest all the time, and I had the impression, wow, all of Romania must be forested. And then Alba Giulia, it's like these wide sweeping views. I could see like all the way to the horizon, and it was like, wow, all these views, and this is a totally different landscape aspect. And then, of course, you come to Banat, which is interesting again for me because it's former German speaking, and finishing at the Danube, which again is a totally different landscape. All of a sudden, I see this bridge that the Romans built like 2,000 years ago over the Danube. And wow, I was confronted with Roman history again. So I realized inside one country, you have so many cultures, so many minorities, so many languages. And I felt so ashamed that I, as a European, had no clue about the history. So for me, it was not only like the different landscapes, but especially the different cultures and the different historical aspects that made it so interesting.
Very nice, very nice description. I would like to be there at the moment, you know. But I wonder which was, besides this with bears, which was the toughest experience that you had on Transilvanica in these almost months?
Toughest for me is actually the psychological aspect. Romania is a country of extremes. And so the gap between rich and poor is very wide, is much wider than I'm used to in Germany. So for me, it is very, very difficult to digest that, for example, you're in Timișoara. I've been to Timișoara before. Timișoara has one of the biggest shopping malls in Europe. And I've been there on my first hike. And when you're in the shopping mall, you could be in Milan, or you could be in Paris, you could be in London. It's the same. It's all, you know, the luxury brands and chic hotels, whatever. And then I went there. I've been shopping in this shopping mall, and then I went back on the trail. And on the trail, even on Via Transilvanica, you have I stayed in accommodations where there is no electricity. So the electricity they have is from solar panels. And if they want to heat the water, they have to do it with a wood stove. And they have their well in the garden because there is no running water in the house. And I saw all, especially you know yourself in his villages, there's mostly old people left. And then for me, it was heartbreaking to hike through these villages and to see these old ladies, you know, with these, you know, they have these slippers on and knitted jackets and the scarves. And I could only imagine what sort of little minimum pension they get and with how little they must get by. And for me, and I saw them like it was cold and they are washing the dishes in the garden because they didn't have hot water in the house. And for me as a European, this is so heartbreaking to see this gap between rich and poor in a country of the EU. So this was always very, very difficult to digest, that on the one hand, you have all this rich, for example, I had better cell phone reception in Romania than I would ever have in Germany. So some things are so advanced, it's so far ahead, and other things are so poor. So this was, for me, mentally very, very, very difficult. So this was actually the most difficult part for me.
What did you like most? Which part and which experience did you like most on Via Transilvanica?
The hospitality. It was just absolutely overwhelming, really overwhelming how friendly and welcoming people were. I mean, it was, I think it was like culture shock on both sides. For me, it's like, okay, this is like the conditions some people live. And for them, it was like, okay, there is this weird person from Germany, really weird person, because for most of them it was they couldn't understand that a single woman, a single female, is hiking across the country all alone in bear country. And then you can't see it because I'm sitting down now. I'm 1.84 meters tall, so I was taller than most people.
I saw pictures with you, so I get that.
And I still remember sometimes I was when I met shepherds, the shepherds were afraid of me. What is this? She's so tall. Like, what is she doing here? But everybody was really sincerely interested. Like, what is she doing here? What is she saying? Unfortunately, I could not very well communicate because I don't speak Romanian. But still, everybody sort of like, okay, we have to look after her. We have to make sure that she's okay. So especially the old ladies, most of the landlords are old ladies. I was really like, I was given so much food and so much attention. And so, do you want this? Please take an apple or take this for as a lunch as a lunch package. And everybody really was so friendly. And this was, I've never experienced that in any other country. And it was really heartfelt. It was not like this professional, okay, we have to be nice to tourists, but really this sincere interest. Okay, there is someone from Germany. She's here in our country. We have to make her welcome. And again, everywhere I went, I experienced that. And this was, wow, this was really the most impressive thing in Romania.
You get a feeling that these people knew about Via Transilvanica, about this spot, or they were just nice because you were there and so?
No. Actually, as I said, I don't speak Romanian, but I had this. We had this classical conversation. So I'm hiking along, and then a shepherd, old lady, God knows who, asks me something in Romania, which includes the word singura. so it was like the first. So my standard answer was nu vorbesc romana. I don't speak Romanian. And then I said, because this is about all I speak in Romanian, I said, okay, Germania. And then I had this T-shirt with Via Transilvanica inscription. I had the Via Transilvanica T-shirt. So I said Germania, and then I pointed Via Transilvanica. And everyone said, and this solved all problems. Everybody knew Via Transilvanica. But the funniest thing was, like, I once met one shepherd. He took his dogs, he protected me from his dogs. And again, like, singura, ursi, and the same conversation. And I pointed to my T-shirt, and he said, Via Transatlantica. So of course he knew, because everybody sees the milestones, so everybody knew about it. This was the perfect explanation. What is this weird person doing here? Via Transilvanica, and this explained everything.
It's definitely very clear what this route means for us, for the travelers. What do you think this route means for these people you talk so nice about? Because actually this route is for them as well, and I hope they at some certain point they will understand how important this is for them. How do you think this route is going to help these poor people up there in the mountains to live their lives maybe better than they do now?
Well, first of all, I think it already contributes financially or economically very, very well. When I stayed in accommodation in pensione, I can't pronounce it, but you know the Romanian word.
Yes.
Exactly. So most landladies told me that already, like, a big percentage or more than half of the people staying there is Via Transilvanica hikers. So it is already doing a very, very big financial impact. Like, even like the shepherds, I was really surprised. In the middle of nowhere in Bukovina, I go to this pass through this meadow, and there is these shepherds there. And they already, like, they wave at me, there's a tourist. They take their dogs back. And as soon as I pass by, they say, okay, do you want milk? Do you want cheese? And I'm like, okay, what is it? So they knew exactly what is going on. And of course, you pay something for that. And when I handed over my 5 lei bill or my 10 lei bill, I saw the guy already had a wallet with all these bills in them. And they said, okay, you're already the 3rd hiker today, and whom we sold some milk and some cheese. So even like the shepherds, they profit from the hikers. Mm-hmm. So I see there's a big economical and financial impact, which will get bigger and bigger the more hikers there are. But also, on the other hand, I think it's when it comes to self-esteem or self-perception, I think this will help, because you see, like, these villages, they are almost deserted. It's only old people, because the young people don't have any perspective. First of all, it gives a financial, economical perspective because it can restaurants, accommodation, and God knows what. But also, like, everybody's like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Yes, I came all the way from Germany to see that. For me, this is really, really interesting. This is so." Yeah, this is something I don't have in my country, and you have such a treasure. This is so valuable. So I think if these people see, okay, there's people coming from all over the world to see their village or their church or their whatever, I think this also helps them to esteem more, to value more what they have.
Exactly, and this is what I would ask you. How can a route like this become a huge ambassador for a country like Romania? Because you said that it completely changed your mind about Romania.
Actually, I think I've seen this in other countries, that this concept of soft tourism, and Via Transilvanica is. Let's start the other way. I've hiked 57,000 kilometers all over the world. So you name any long distance trail, and I probably have hiked it. But I've never seen ever in my entire hiking career a trail that combines the elements of landscape, culture, and like doing something good, helping to develop a landscape or a region so well as Via Transilvanica. Really, there's hardly anything I could think of improving. So, and I realized when I posted on social media every day, so many of my German followers said, I think we should do this too. And we were in a Q&A on social media afterwards with the Via Transilvanica people, and literally hundreds of people attended this, and people asked live questions, and not like general questions, but like, hey, my holidays in May. Could I come in May? I'm a vegan. Can I hike this as a vegan? So they had really very concrete and questions. And I think that this will be a big ambassador because it will draw people. Especially Germans are always they like hiking. And they're always interested in finding something new. And because this is so perfectly prepared with the guidebook, with the waymarking, with the milestones, I think it will be a big ambassador for Romania.
You said almost 2 months on Via Transilvanica. Did you feel yourself richer, not financially, of course, but richer after these 2 months spent in Romania?
Actually, I didn't realize that I became such a famous person on the Via Transilvanica, because when I finished at the Danube, there were actually several TV teams. Mm-hmm. And they asked me at the end, how do you feel? Because I was the first woman to hike the whole trail.
And one of the first persons, actually, we have to say, you're a hero for us. I have to tell you. And so I asked me, how do you feel? And really, from the depths of my heart, I can repeat what I said back then. I fell in love with Romania. Really, it was really, and I still feel my heart is still there.